Pastor Thomas is in the prison ministry, which means that there are 17 Bible schools in Kalimantan, in the prison, not just visiting, but they have schools in the prison. And it's an amazing ministry. So I just want him to share, you know, because of his need and how he was blessed, maybe with a vehicle to facilitate. Itu saja. Mau cakap bahasa Malaysia pun boleh ke English? Suka, Pak?
Boleh.
I can translate for you.
Oke, Pastor. Terima kasih.
Thank you very much.
Atau Dr. Song sudah mengundang untuk bisa kesaksian di
Thank you
sini.
for this testimony, that the opportunity to give this testimony.
Seperti yang sudah dijelaskan tadi, bahwa saya itu pendiri sekolah Alkitab di penjara-penjara Kalimantan.
As you've heard, we have 17 schools in the prison, officially approved by the government of Indonesia, and the only one in the whole of Indonesia.
Ya, dan awal kita memulai sekolah Alkitab ini, itu ada dorongan, ada visi dari Tuhan untuk menjangkau mereka-mereka yang tertolak, yang ada di penjara.
It was a passion that the Lord gave me to go to those people who are, you know, marginalized and those in prison.
Dan
to serve in the prison.
Setelah kita diberi kesempatan melayani, baru kita buat MOU dengan.
Then we had the opportunity to make an agreement with the government.
Ya, dan setelah sudah dibuat MOU, baru kita laksanakan sekolah Alkitab.
And we were able to establish a school in up to now 17 prisons, yeah, and even chapels in 1 or 2 of them.
Ya, dan setelah berjalan dalam waktu sampai sekarang sudah 5 tahun.
The ministry now gone on for 5 years.
Kami diizinkan lagi masuk ke daerah-daerah.
We try to go to more districts. Yeah.
Sehingga banyak lagi para narapidana itu ingin untuk bisa diajari firman Tuhan.
Yeah, and many of these prisoners are very keen to hear the word of God and to be ministered to. By the way, they also get 2 years off, 1 or 2 years off their prison sentence. So there's a motivation. Some of them may not be born again, but after entering the course, they get born again and they come to know the Lord. I had the privilege to go there, and we subsequently on our return able to raise funds so that he has a car to move around in.
Ya, jadi satu hari.
So you want to invite us to go there?
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, in the whole world, there are only 2 such ministries, Alabama and Kalimantan, where it's not visiting prison, but there is a school in the prison. And we noticed as we were worshiping the Lord, the others from the other faith were peeping in. Of course, they couldn't join. They were not allowed to join. Obviously, they can't join. But they were peeping in and watching in. And what surprised me in the prison, sorry, I had to do your sharing a bit, is I met 3 or 4 pastors inside there who were in for theft and 1 or 2 for adultery. Apparently in Kalimantan, it's a sin to commit adultery. I mean, you get jailed. And praise God, we prayed for their release, and they were released, some of them, because of COVID. Thank you, Pastor. You just invite us now to go to the invitation.
Okay. Saya mengundang lah semua.
I invite anyone who want to come to Kalimantan,
datanglah ke
come and visit and join us to minister to the prisoners. Praise the Lord. Terima kasih ya. Okay. Terima kasih Pak Thomas. With that, I would like to, I'm sorry we are 1 hour late. I'm not sure whether you came in earlier, Dato Kim Tan, but I searched, I couldn't see you. Maybe it's a time difference. But we have here with us Dato Dr Kim Tan, whom I've known for quite a few years. And I know his brother, who is a colleague with me here in Pantai. And I've had the privilege to also know the father and minister to the father salvation. And he passed on at a great, wonderful age of 100 years old. I believe Kim is a Malaysian born in Port Dickson area, and he did well in UK, and he found ship cell monoclonal antibodies and patented it, and I think you're listed in the Forbes among the most endowed in Britain, and now he's a pro-chancellor of Surrey University, but most important is his love for the Lord. He's also very close to the late David Pawson and has edited a book about David Pawson. You can say a few words about David if you want, but I've invited him to share giving hope by giving jobs. This will be the last session. Please stay on, even though you are tired. Come and listen how you can give, create jobs for others through his ministry, Transformation Business Network. I'm sure you'll share a bit about either Changi or South Africa. Over to you, Dato Kim Tan. And sorry, we got you 1 hour late. I'm not sure. I couldn't find you.
No problems, Dr. Sen. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I must have got my timing wrong. I had in my diary 7:30 in the morning, so that was when I signed in. I would like to share with you the work that we've been doing, which is really about trying to mobilize business people to use their business skills and talents and resources to build businesses amongst the poor. So instead of using a charity approach, we wanted to think creatively to see if we can build sustainable businesses that can provide products and services for the poor, that can create jobs in urban, peri-urban, and rural areas to uplift the poor. So it's very intentional, this kind of social impact investing. We're sector neutral, so I will share some examples with you in the area of the environment. Climate change is going to be one of the biggest issues that we'll have to deal with in the coming years. And then the other big problem that we have is inequalities. You know, the rich are getting richer and richer, and the poor are getting poorer and being left behind. And where we work is largely in Africa and Indonesia. And I will share some examples of those from various sectors where we've been able to encourage different business people to use their time, their talent, and their treasures to build significant sustainable businesses that can uplift the poor. Am I able to share screen?
Oh, I haven't made you host because you came in late. Let me find you. Give me a minute. Sure, you can, of course. I made all, but I think I caught you a bit late. Yeah.
Sorry.
I wasn't sure what name you would come on. I am still searching. Oh yeah, I got you. Oh, you are already.
I can share screen?
Yeah, you are already.
Okay. Oops. Not that one. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, we can see, it's fine.
So it says a vision for social venture capital?
That's right.
Okay. So let me just jump straight to where we started. I went to South Africa over 20-something years ago and came to a district that had 80% unemployment and over 30% HIV/AIDS, I guess, at the time. And, you know, really wondered what I should be doing in response to the need of a situation like that. I decided to build a safari game park. A long story, how we ended up doing that, but in a rural area, it's very difficult to build a sustainable business that can create jobs, that can impact the poor in that district. So a long story, in the end, that was what we did. We bought about 40,000 acres of degraded farmland, rehabilitated it, built about 75 kilometers of elephant-proof fencing, brought big game into that park for the first time in 150 years, built a 5-star lodge, and then intentionally went to hire largely AIDS orphans to train them up in the hospitality trade. And where we can, we use local materials and local people to build up the facilities. And then by accident, really discovered the importance of conservation. There's so little teaching around the environment and conservation care. And quite frankly, if we don't have good environments, people don't thrive. We don't flourish without good environment. So it was pretty accidental. And we used the profits from the hospitality to do conservation with a bunch of different kinds of species that are endangered. And these are all God's creatures. So we have elephants and lions and cheetahs and so on and so forth. But the real reason that we were there is really about social transformation. How do we really help the poor in a sustainable way, where we don't use charity, but we use the talent and resources that God has given us as business people. And this is a slide here of how people used to live, the top left panel here. And now they all live in houses that we call standard housing. So for us, a definition of standard housing is concrete floors, concrete walls, water, electricity, indoor bathroom, flush toilet, and solar panel. So I want to know, over the time of our investment, how many people start to live in standard housing. So we have that. And then we have a foundation there where we have a kind of educational center, and we bus in children from all our neighboring schools to come for a day out, because many of these children have never seen animals in the wild. They've seen animals in the textbooks and television. But unless we inspire them and help them to understand that this is their heritage, we're never going to be successful in conservation. So they come, they have a day, and they get to walk with non-dangerous animals like giraffes and zebras. So for us, it's about inspiring the next generation in education. We have a bunch of social metrics that we track. It'll be too long to sort of explain all this to you, but suffice to say, we really want to track how are we improving the lives of the people that we employ, either full-time or as contractors. And particularly important for us is, have they changed their fiscal discipline to learn how to save money to invest in their children's further education? Primary school is a given, but we really want to encourage parents to send their kids to tertiary education. So this is our strap line.
Education.
Help the poor. Don't sign us, don't give us a charity check, but come on safari. That's the best way for us for you to help the poor.
Got a shop there.
I'm going to skip a bunch of other stuff. We have 2 big projects going on, hopefully starting next year, COVID permitting. This is in a Budungo forest in Uganda, where there are only 600 chimpanzees left. This is in Bindi, where there are only 4 gorillas left. But because of poverty, the deforestation is just unsustainable in these 2 reserves. And once the trees are gone, the animals will be gone as well. And unfortunately, because of COVID, people are hungry and they are going into the forest to chop trees and shoot animals. This is another business that we've invested in the environmental space. This is actually in Muar, in Malacca, in the Johor area, started by Tim Tan. It grows a plant called kanaf. Kanaf is a kind of hibiscus variety, grows very, very rapidly. And the real value of kanaf is the fibers. So the fibers are used for car manufacturing. So Toyota, for instance, and Ford buys the fiber because they're long and strong and light. And that's what's used for car interiors. But the core has traditionally just been thrown away. And what Tim Tan has done is to use the core, chip them and mix them with lime, no sand, no cement, and he's using them to build houses. And 1 hectare of kanaf can build about 10 of these houses a year. And the other amazing thing about this is not only has this plant captured carbon, because there's no lime, because there's no sand, no cement, and only lime, the lime continues to capture more carbon with time. So these kind of houses actually become stronger over time rather than weaker. So it's a truly greenhouse. Unfortunately, they got all their certifications all in order when COVID hit, and the businesses really had to come to a standstill. But they build panels in the factories. They come on site and they just assemble and put them up in a few days. Here's another business out in Indonesia called Green Hope, working with 3,000 farmers growing cassava for making biodegradable plastics. You all know the impact of plastic in our rivers and in our seas and oceans, and it's just becoming a huge problem. So this is a biodegradable plastic that you can just throw onto the compost and it'll biodegrade in 2 years instead of 300-500 years. Synergy is a business that we have in the slum, the largest slum in Africa, in Nairobi, called Kibera. And we franchise these kind of toilets to these micro entrepreneurs. People pay a few cents to use it each time. We have about almost 4,000 toilets serving about 140,000 people every day. But economically, this is not sustainable. So the only way to make this business sustainable is to take the waste away every day, to convert into several products, one of which is a fertilizer. So we convert the poo into fertilizer. The other product is an insect protein. So this is a black soldier fly that feeds on poo. They lay their eggs on poo. And when the eggs hatch, the larvae will also feed on poo, and we harvest the larvae and use it as a protein substitute in animal feed. We have a factory in Nairobi that can process about 72,000 tons of waste a year. And this business employs over 500 people and provides a livelihood for a large number of people there. This is another one that tackles some of the environmental issues in honey. So we hang beehives in trees in the forest. And because people have an income coming from these beehives, they don't chop the trees down. They protect their trees because they're getting an income. And we work with about 10,000 farmers. We have 90,000 beehives in northern Zambia. And in effect, then we are protecting over 90,000 hectares of forest. We export about 350 tons of honey each year. Turning now to education, this is Bridge International Academy. Started out with one school in Mukuru slum in Kenya. We use a digital platform for all our curriculum, and train the teachers to use these tablets, making sure that kids have textbooks and writing books. And we charge $5 per child per month. So with that kind of a low cost, our structures are pretty simple. In fact, my first school in rural Malaysia, in Lingi, near Port Dickson, looks just like that. There are no windows, and you know what the rain is like in Malaysia. When it rains, we all got a bit of a shower, and it just goes to show that it's not the physical structure that's important. It's what's inside. It's the software inside that's important. Well, today, from one school in 2008, today we have over 6,000 schools with 2 million kids in our schools every day. The big challenge actually is not education. The big challenge now is really how do you feed them? Because it's all digital, we can monitor and track the children. When we were smaller, we were able to track them on a 2-weekly basis. Today, with so many now, they can only be tracked on a monthly basis. And we track their performance. And what is very pleasing is, particularly in Uganda, for several years running now, our kids have to sit a national exam at the age of 12, 13. And we've had 100% pass rate from these schools compared with the government's 45% pass rate. So it is possible to think creatively about how to provide education on this kind of scale at low cost. Here's another one out of Indonesia with 2 million users. This is all digital for download onto their laptop or their smartphones, where they have all the education, the Indonesian textbooks available for them for free. And they monetize it by doing advertising for school-related, education-related type products. And this has 2 million users a month. Santoso is a very talented business guy, and the business is just growing. We have a chain of computer training centers in South Africa where people pay to have a Microsoft certificate over a 6 months period. Again, we find that if it's free, people will only come for 1 week, 2 weeks, but if they pay, they will turn up. And we've been conscious that unless kids have some basic computing literacy, even the kind of jobs as cashier in a supermarket or as waiters in restaurants, those kinds of jobs are not open to them. So this has graduated over 20,000 people now out of this change. So there are about 42 outlets now. And then a big concern that we have is how do you serve the unbanked, the poor, the informal sector people who all have just analog phones in Africa. In Africa, we used to track how many people that we employ have phones. We don't bother anymore. Everyone in Africa has 2 phones. But how do you serve them because they don't have any banking facility? So it's a big problem and challenge in Africa. So this is a business, a fintech business that facilitates that. We serve not just the individual, we serve the motorbike taxi drivers, we serve the small mom and pop shops and stalls by the street side and so on. Today we have 14 million users, about 70 million transactions every month. And that really does help the poor. I'm going to skip a few of these. This is Castrol Biosciences in Thailand. We felt that we wanted to make a response as the Transformation Business Network to the COVID pandemic. So this is a business that we have in Thailand that manufactures low-cost tests for dengue fever, for malaria, HIV, syphilis, and so on. And we decided to last year make a test for COVID, and that got regulatory approval, and it's in use in Thailand. So that was very much a kind of response from within the network that we felt we had to do something and provide low-cost diagnostics for the country. Regenesis, started by Sam and his wife Mindy out in Cebu in the Philippines, a really interesting business. They rescue women from the sex industry, rehabilitate and counsel them, and then they've set up a technology business that does photo editing for real estate companies in the United States. So the real estate people in the US take their photos of the buildings, they download the data to the Philippines, and these girls then do the photo editing, and they do a 3D kind of tour, a virtual tour of the building, and then send the data back. And there's such a lot of dignity and healing that comes from this, from these survivors who work in that kind of an environment. There are about 200 people working there, and Sam and his wife have done a brilliant job making that investment there. Finally, Agape is a business in the Changi prison in Singapore, started by Anil David, whom some of you would know about. And the whole idea was to create real jobs inside the prison. And before the pandemic, he was hiring about 80 men and 100 women in the prisons. They are upskilled, they're paid a minimum wage. And then when they're released, they are rehired in the call center in the city. As a result of COVID, government's given them a contract to sort of provide emergency counseling services. Not that they do the counseling, but they connect people to counselors. And they've recently also been given a contract to do job training and job placement for these ex-offenders when they're released. The great thing about this business, not only can we help ex-offenders, we can also create jobs for disabled people, because whilst they may be physically disabled, they're certainly not mentally disabled, and this is a kind of job that would suit them as well. So both the Regenesis business and Agape, what is really interesting is that because the majority of the people have come from the same background, people don't have to hide their background. They feel a sense of belonging. They feel that this is their family. And it's in this kind of environment that that's been created that will allow them to flourish and grow. And there's some amazing stories of individuals who have really seen real transformation in their lives through these kinds of opportunities. So with that, I will stop and hand over to Dr. Sung. Thank you for your time.
Stay on for a while, Kim. Thanks, Kim. Really, I've heard this. I think that was about 10, 15 years ago when I heard it. How long is TBN now?
TBN, I think it's about 17, 18 years now.
Yeah, I think I must have heard it 15 years ago. It's amazing that your network with the other rich entrepreneurs have really gone on. You may want to cancel your share screen now.
Okay.
My question, again, this is the first Q&A. Normally we don't have it. My question is, yours of course is a huge scale. My question, maybe you can transport this concept to a smaller scale. I mean, on a small scale, of course, you got those what do you call the cottage industries and so on. But whether there's anything in between, any way that you could make it so that many more middle class Christians can do this thing of job creation. Your scale is up there, no? Whether we could go at the lower scale.
Yeah, I think the answer is yes. So within TBN, all our businesses started very small. We started with one school. We started with, you know,
10 of us couldn't even buy an elephant, you know, that kind of thing. So it's really stunning, really stunning. You know? Can you now connect to us that faith element, you know, that, you know, the faith in you? Obviously, you were mentored by David Pawson, and you're very strong in the word, and your love for the Lord is there. You know, you have not mentioned anything. Maybe you want to connect it to encourage us.
Yeah, I guess my motivation is several-fold. One is obviously my own background. My parents were immigrants from China. My dad came to Malaysia at the age of 18 with nothing. And out of a small business in rural Malaysia, he was able to send us for education. And fortunately, with the scholarships from the British government, we were able to get a tertiary education. And I saw that, you know, the potential of what a small business can do in terms of transforming the lives of the family. So I've always, you know, believed in the importance of that. So that was one. The other is obviously my faith, and you know, I very early on discovered a God who had a real compassion for the poor. How do we really, you know, seek His kingdom and His righteousness? The word righteousness in the Greek is the word dikaiosune, which is equally well translated by the word justice. So if we hear the words of Jesus, seek ye first the kingdom of God and His justice, right? It starts to sound very different. You know, righteousness is not just me and my piety towards God. Righteousness is about social holiness as well. And so a long story with the rediscovery of the principles, the Jubilee in the Old Testament, and how Jesus and particularly Acts of the Apostles worked out the Jubilee principles, led us to live in a community for about 8 years where we shared all things in common, where we accept our wives and our books. We didn't share our wives, we didn't share our books, but we shared everything else and sought to live a simpler lifestyle and use any excess money to sort of serve those less well off than ourselves. And that was really the heart of it. It was really the understanding of Jubilee about wealth creation and wealth distribution. How do we use the gifts that God has given us to create wealth, but also how do we learn how to distribute that wealth and share? Because, you know, that is the kingdom. That, you know, the kingdom is to be displayed in both words and deeds. And often in our churches for years, we have separated out the gospel as only by word. And what we have a saying in Africa is, you know, people say to us, I'm too hungry to hear what you have to say. And if we don't address the physical needs, it's sometimes very difficult for people to hear what you know, what we have to say. So it's my faith that has driven me to do this, to transition out of biotech investing and fund management to spend a third of my time in Asia, a third of my time in Africa doing this kind of investing and bringing other largely Christian business people and challenging them to say, look, you've got more than enough to live on. How about now using your gifts and your talent and your resources in a way that can really benefit the poor and extend the kingdom?
Amazing. One final point is your concept is like the Malaysian FELDA scheme, the workers in the field. Is there any big farming project for yours? I thought farming would be great because that's how the Lord blesses us through farming.
Oh yeah, we have big farms. One farm employs about 7,000 people. Again, in Kenya, another one we do regenerative organic farming for beans, avocados for export into the UK. So we run about 350 acres of organic farming. So yeah, farming is very important.
One final question, a sensitive one maybe. Like in other businesses, 1 out of 3 will fail. Out of this kind of thing, what is your percentage of needing to review or revise or let go?
I would say failure is pretty low for us because we take a very kind of venture capital type approach, very systematic. So we don't just give people money. We sit on the board, we agree with them on the strategy, we do mentoring, and then we have enough cash reserve for them to help them at each stage, because most of these businesses fail because either they're too small or they run out of cash. So we always look at a business over a 10, 12-year period, and we need to know how much cash they need. If they need $1 million, we reserve money to help them at each stage of their growth. That way they don't run out of cash and then die in this valley of death. That, as you say, is very common.
We'll call you back, Kim, under a different platform on business. I'm sure they're all getting excited, but not to forget, we must not worship Mammon. The purpose of this seminar is to give, to serve. So thank you very much, Kim. It's been a pleasure. Hope to see you when you drop by in Malaysia again. Soon, hopefully. So. Yeah. Take care. And thanks for coming on in the early hours. Thank you
pleasure.
so much. God bless you.
God bless everyone. Bye-bye.